The Monday, March 6th meeting of the City of Monona City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Thomas is excused. Alder Rademacher.
Here.
Alder DePula.
Here.
Alder Humphrey.
Here.
Alder Moore. Alder Wood.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would just like to announce for everyone out there on Zoom or watching on our YouTube channel that we are not considering the Bloom proposal tonight. We're still waiting for some decisions to be made by another committee that was not able to meet when they had hoped to. So we're hoping that will be on the next meeting agenda, which will be on the 20th of March. If you check the city website the Friday before the next meeting, our agendas are always posted there, and it will say if that the Bloom discussion is going to take place then. So, okay, moving on. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the February 20th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Sir, did you need to make an appearance to speak at all, or are you just here? Okay.
I'm here for one of the agenda items.
Okay, all right. There are no appearances, there is no public hearing, there's no consent agenda. There are, under council agenda, action items. There is no unfinished business. Moving to new business. Item 2A, consideration of resolution 23-3-2615, providing for the sale of $2.87 million in general obligation promissory notes, series 2023A. This was put forward by the Finance and Personnel Committee, and it was approved by Finance and Personnel earlier tonight. So, Mark?
Yes, and my fault, I forgot if somebody could take this out of order. What this is this is the authorization for our financial advisor to start negotiations with the bond holders, and they put everything together, and then they'll start doing what they do, and then they'll come back at the next meeting with the final numbers. And he'll present that, and usually we accept it, but they don't have to, but he'll come back with those numbers. This is just our 2023
So
capital.
you want a motion? You said you do want it.
If you could, authorize him to start doing that.
I'll move to suspend the rules and take this out of order.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. I'll move approval.
Mark?
So this is just the note, just kind of the breakdown. We're borrowing $2,870,000. General is 2.5 for capital projects. Storm is 125 for the capital budgets. Sewer and water has been netted based on some unspent proceeds that projects came in under budget in the prior years for sewer and water. And then TIF part of the 2023 budget. So we get to the $2,870,000. A lot of times we'll do a revenue bond for sewer and water. Within $175,000, it's not worth to do a revenue bond. It'd be a lot more expensive, but that small dollar amount wouldn't make sense, and that's why it's included with the general obligating and not doing a separate revenue bond issue.
Mark?
A question on
I'm
that
sorry, Doug.
on that point. That we can still do it as part of a geo bond,
Yes.
even though it's water and sewer.
Yes. We have a couple, but it's really small.
Yeah.
That's what we,
Okay.
Any other questions? Do we need a roll call for this?
I think you probably do. Forgot.
Roll call.
Okay, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Rademacher.
Aye.
Alder DePula.
Aye.
Alder Humphrey.
Aye.
Alder Moore. Alder Wood.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item 2B, consideration of resolution 23-3-2613, approval of a certified survey map, CSM, for Lot 4 of CSM 8819 and Lot 1 of CSM 15061. This is related to the Broadway lofts and townhomes GDP, and it's put forth by the Plan Commission. Doug, are you going to address this?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to give a quick overview, and we're joined by Sean O'Brien of North Point this evening, who will just go into a little bit more detail as well. But the request this evening is for approval of a one-lot certified survey map. This is over at the White Horse site over on East Broadway. The purpose of this is to allow for the development of a 75-unit multifamily development. This was reviewed twice at the Plan Commission, first for a pre-hearing in late October. It went to Public Works Committee for their review and recommendation in early November, and was recently considered formally by the Plan Commission and unanimously recommended approval. And with that, I'll pass it over to Sean.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you all letting me come back in. It's been a minute. I think the last time I was in front of this committee was November of 2021. But that's how long it takes to get workforce affordable housing through the process. We got a lot of really good momentum going on right now. Since we last saw each other, we did apply for the 9% tax credit from WHEDA for a 75-unit workforce development. Those are made up of 3 buildings, townhomes, and apartments as well. We did receive that award. We've also applied for other grants through the county, whether that be the Affordable Housing Development Fund. The county is supporting the project with a little over $1 million. We also applied and won some home dollars from the county through their CDBG grant program, and about $870,000, or maybe it was $840,000, I'm getting confused, a grant through the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago. So we've really been trying to come up with the proper financing. They like to say it, affordable housing is lasagna financing, just all the different layers that we have to put onto it. But we're going to have a really exciting building and project. It's going to be sustainable, energy efficient. We're going to have a solar panel system on the top of the roof of the 63-unit apartment building. We're also looking to do some transportation add-ons as well through the B-Cycle program, which is pretty neat. And one of the things that we just worked through over the last couple of weeks is we've partnered with the Tree Canopy Collaborative, which Dane County is actually, if you reach out to them, they will work together with you to provide you with free trees to plant on your site. So it was a way for us to secure an extra 20 to 25 trees, and those that are unfamiliar with the site, we're talking about the White Horse property that's along Broadway near the Beltline. There's just a lot of really scenic natural features on that site. So by adding 25 free trees from the county plus other ones that we're planning to put down there, we think we're going to have just a beautiful residential neighborhood, which was one of the challenges I think originally with this site was more of the commercial aspect to it. We wanted to bring a project that wasn't just dense apartments all shoved into one location, so we wanted the mix of styles. We wanted the townhomes mixed with the apartments and the green space. So we're really excited about the project. We did get Plan Commission approval for the CSM and for the PIP last week, and so we're here just to answer any questions and look for your support.
Okay. Doug, did you have anything more to say about the CSM? Or?
Nothing else to add on that. Just in the staff report I did include, or in the memo for City Council, I did include the 3 conditions. This was reviewed by Strand. The document was. There's a couple small items there to address, but nothing unusual there.
Okay.
Thanks.
Does anybody have any questions about the CSM?
I
Teresa.
just have a comment, Mr. O'Brien. I am just thrilled to hear about all your green features of this site. It's just really inspiring, and I particularly love the idea of people driving by on the Beltline and looking over and seeing solar panels right there, and it creates the next person. It inspires the next person to do the same, and I'm sure, but I just want to make sure that you're aware of some of the tax credits that might be available to you through the Inflation Reduction Act, and perhaps some resources at the county that you could tap into to learn all about those. I just want to make sure that you do.
Yep, yeah, we're learning. It's like you're drinking from a fire hose, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I see lanes up there.
Yeah.
We're learning all about that, and it's interesting. It's like, you're putting solar, but how tall is the building? And so you kind of just work through all that, but we've either have built or have now built 4 projects in Dane County. All 4 have had the solar panels. We work with Full Spectrum, and they're great about, not just installing, but kind of getting the extra resources for them. They also kind of help us with the size of the panels. So what's really cool is we'll size the building so that 90% of the common area electrical usage will be, kind of, I guess I wouldn't say reimbursed, but the solar panels will, cross out 90% of that electric. And so, that will also run the site lighting and the EV chargers that we'll have, on site as well.
Okay, then if there's nothing else about the CSM, we'll move on to the next item, which was item C, consideration of resolution 23-3-2614, approval of a precise implementation plan, PIP, for Broadway lofts and townhomes at approximately 1208 East Broadway. This is also put forth by the Plan Commission.
Thank you. So this is the same project that was just being discussed, the precise implementation plan, just for those following along maybe. It's some more detail and specifics of the general development plan that was approved in late 2021. And so with this, the stormwater, the elevations, the final landscaping, lighting, kind of those details were all figured out as part of this. As the applicant mentioned, it's a 75-unit multifamily workforce housing development on the 2 lots that is proposed to be combined into one as part of the CSM. The PIP had 2 hearings at the Plan Commission, and then again the formal consideration was at the February 27th meeting. The staff report was included in the packet for your reference. It was recommended for approval with 20 conditions of approval all listed in the memo as well. And again, the applicant's here to answer any questions, as am I. Thanks.
Questions, anyone?
No.
Nancy?
I don't have any questions. I want to say, as chair of the Plan Commission, that the commission is very enthusiastic at this point about this development for all the reasons, as you can see in the PIP. And sorry, Jackson. I'm just very appreciative of Northpoint's obvious expertise in this area and what they brought to the table from the very beginning, and we're excited about it.
Doug, did you have something?
Yeah. Could you describe what the requirements are for the workforce housing units? What the percentage of the income, median income, will be, and what you expect the rents will be?
Sure. So 59 of the apartments will be set aside for individuals earning between 30 to 60% of the county median income.
Excellent.
And I don't have in front of me that actual range, but it does break down different, household size. So, for example,
right.
Your income is based on the number of folks in your household, and then it goes, and you're determined if you fall into that range. So, there's a pretty big wide table there between 1 to 5 occupants of a household and where they would qualify. I think the more important piece is that 20% or about 15 of the units will be set aside at 20%. 20% or 15 units will be set aside for households that earn 30% of the county median income or less. Those will range between $600 to about $715 per month. And those are households that we are going to try to connect with Lutheran Social Services. We'll have a service coordinator at the project, and we'll connect those households to available services that may be in the community that can help them maintain housing independence. Mm-hmm. And then we would have about 30 apartments at 50% of county income. Those rents will range between $1,000 for a 1 to about $1,350 for a 3-bedroom. And our 3 bedrooms are really nice. And the townhomes typically come with 2 to 2.5 bathrooms, and they'll have separate floors and their own parking garage. So it's a really nice home. Yeah. For $1,350 a month. I think the 3 bedrooms, there's not that many 3-bedroom apartments being built in the Madison area, but when they do, they're renting for $2,500 to $2,800 a month. So it's a pretty nice discount to market, and will be a nice quality home as well. And then we do have some 60% units, which is about $1,150 for a 1 and $1,375 for a 2.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Questions? Anyone else? Patrick?
Term of affordability. How is it permanent, or like Is there a sunset on the affordability component of the building?
Yeah, good question. So WIDA requires a 30-year commitment, and then the county, when we apply for the Affordable Housing Development Fund, they require a 35-year commitment.
Awesome.
So we're currently at 35 years. I know that other municipalities are starting to ask for some additional commitments above and beyond that. But yeah, right now we're at 35 years as a minimum.
Excellent. Thank you so much for doing this.
Anyone else? I have one question. Have you gotten the issue of the drive settled? Is that going to be happening when it's supposed to? And
For all
As far as you
practical
know.
purposes, the Plan Commission was very helpful in kind of settling that. I mean, one of the challenges was chicken or egg. We have our development on the site that needs a driveway, and then the driveway needs to be approved by the Plan Commission before our site. And I'm not an engineer, but apparently, you gotta somehow get them to connect somewhere. And so individually, I think the Plan Commission recognized, okay, well, we've engineered this driveway now and had our feedback on that, but that's not going to fit well with how the housing project's being engineered. We are going back to the CDA next week, both ourselves and the White Horse family, to discuss possible city assistance for the drive. But that's a pivotal part of our project. Our offer purchase includes the family setting aside funds to build the driveway. So we're definitely, we have our ducks in a row in that regard to say.
And this is really a private road, right?
Right, yeah. And so we've been working really closely with Blake George and the White Horse family to make sure that the road has been moving along. And one of the reasons why, we're coming back to this committee in March instead of a little bit earlier, because we wanted to get the road through and, get that going first. And that is a contingency or condition of our approval as well, that the road is built at or before our project, which is one of our requirements as well.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I will be making a final decision on this at our next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and moving on to our final item under new business, update discussion on implementation of short-term rental ordinance. I think Mark is going to address this. He did meet with staff and Bill last week to kind of start talking about process and who's going to do what, and Mark.
Yeah, so just had a meeting last week, myself, Leah, Doug, and Bill Cole, our attorney, kind of how we're going to do this. And just kind of the first, the next meeting we'll come back with what the fee schedule should be. There's two fees that we need to get approved. One is the original fee for first time applying, and then the renewal fee with that. So there would be two reads, which would be, the second read would be April 3rd. Once that's passed, we have to publish the ordinance, and we have 2 weeks for the ordinance to be published. So then really that date, if it's approved on April 3rd, won't go into effect. This ordinance would not go into effect until April 27th. And if you're a current Airbnb provider, you have 6 months to comply. If not, you have right away. You need to comply with the ordinance. So that will happen right away. So we'll come back to what we think the fee should be. That we are, Elaine will just issue one license, which is going to be, the permit year will be July 1st through June 30th. She'll have to do the licensing for that. And also, it comes down to how we're going to kind of oversee this, and this is where we're struggling a little bit. I guess one of the things we're looking for is maybe some feedback from you is how aggressive you want us to pursue this ordinance. If it's very aggressive, I think we need to look internally how we could do that with the staff involved. If it's more just complaint driven, then it's another thing. We just need some direction on that one, where we should go with that, because that'll affect how we go from here. And we kind of looked at, we want to get set up a website, a separate web page, like an FAQs and things like that. There's a lot of forms that need to be filled out. What we're looking at right now is maybe, we talked about maybe Thor doing that If we had Thor do it, though, what that would mean is we'll have to move some of his duties back, like sustainability and landmarks is one issue we're running into. I know Bill talked about, and you talked with Bill about,
Yeah.
but I thought he told us in our meeting, our department meeting, that tourism couldn't be used for that. So I'll double check with that.
Yeah,
And
'cause
that's-
when I talked to him, he said tourism could be used for a person, but not for the software.
yeah.
I thought maybe we could use the tourism money to hire maybe an intern this summer to help get this thing up and running.
So-
Help people fill out the forms and
So I'll double check with them. I thought he told us, but maybe that was,
maybe change his mind.
yeah, miscommunication between us. So that's what we're kind of working at right now. There's a lot of things involved in this. But once it does hit April 27th, it will go live, and this ordinance will be live, and we'll have to, internally, we'll have to be ready kind of for all that.
Does it have to go live? I mean, I
I mean, well, that's, the ordinance is in effect, I guess. Correct.
where my thoughts are going is just, there are good ideas, and then there's, good implementation of ideas, and I'm just wondering, does it make sense to wait until the intern is hired, until the website is solid and explains everything as a way of just lessening? I mean, when a phone call comes in to the staff, instead of the staff spending time answering 20 different questions, you can just point 20 people to a website.
Well, our biggest challenge is, I mean, I don't know how that works, if that's directed from council, but, the ordinance to us is considered in effect, so we have to be,
Right.
somebody comes and asks all those questions as of April 28th, we have to have, the forms if they want to apply and all that stuff and be ready for that, so I don't know.
So are you saying that the approval of the fee schedule is what kicks this into?
Yeah,
Well, can we delay the approval of the fee schedule a little
I mean,
bit,
we can
or-
delay that, yeah.
I think we could set a different effective date from what the sort of default is in statute.
Yeah.
Okay,
I really like Mary's idea of hiring
okay.
an engineer.
So then, okay, so we'll have to talk with Mary and kind of figure out what date you guys are kind of looking at, is that?
Because if we do end up hiring someone like this summer, obviously, they're not going to be available until
Right.
May or whatever, but Nancy?
Yeah, I'm just gonna reiterate again, that I don't think that there is a need to be
Right.
inventing the wheel.
Right.
here.
We've
I
worked
think
with,
it's not, not only public health, but things on public health, but also Donna.
Yeah,
Right.
She can give you the very clear picture of what the process is in terms of the upfront application process, like what happens when she finds a house that is gone on to one of these sites, what she does, and sort of the front end and then the middle end in terms of their, getting them to be compliant, and then the back end in terms of enforcement.
yeah,
And she can break that down really easily.
yeah, and we got a lot of their forms already.
Right, I
So
know,
those
but
just more
it's-
convert
but
their
it's-
forms into our ordinance, and because it's a little bit different, each one's a little bit.
It is definitely different, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is there's a big difference between forms and process.
Yes.
And having an efficient process is going to, I'm just trying to save the staff time and energy, because it's not, because it is a brand new thing, and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
Well, and I think it makes sense if we need to delay it a little bit too, because Eileen's going to be totally swamped by the election
Right.
through the first week of April. Certainly, Leah is getting into the middle of all the summer hiring, I imagine, so, if we have to allow for some leeway, you guys be thinking about
Okay.
timing, and, if you need some extra weeks, we
Because
need
people are
to vote on
calling.
something, we can do that. Yeah, it's,
People are
we definitely
calling
need to
us.
get something up there. Do we have the ordinance itself on the website somewhere?
Yes.
Okay, is it like available from the homepage, or, okay, that's good. So we can at least send them there, and
Okay.
they're just going to have to wait till we get
Great.
FAQs or whatever going. It's going to take a while.
So
But
that's good.
I understand that people are concerned, certainly. Doug?
So Nancy, you're talking about City of Madison? Is it?
Yeah.
So they have someone who,
Yes.
like, actively
Full-time in the
looks at,
zoning department. That
They have some-
created the entire program a decade ago and has built on it, because she's learned along the way too.
right,
She just happens to be a friend of mine, and she's already been really helpful in terms of sending stuff, information to us, and she talks to other municipalities almost on a daily basis.
So they
that are
act-
dealing with the same thing.
So part of her job, or somebody who works for her, would be to actively monitor, like VRBO and,
She monitors. She doesn't monitor the sites. Madison has a. Although she does go to the sites, the way it works is that Madison contracts with a company called Host Compliance that provides her with a map on a daily basis that she looks at, where she can see houses lit up because they've been listed on one of any 20 sites. It's not just the RBO and
Right, yeah.
HomeAway anymore. It's a lot of different sites, but so she can see who's been listed, and then any new listings out of that she's not familiar with, she'll actually go, and I mean, she hasn't gone through every bit of the process with me, but she said, she goes immediately to the sites where they're listed, and she actually takes screenshots of whatever's listed, because that's really important on the front end in order to have any kind of ability to enforce on the back end. And so but she's the one that physically goes out and does the inspections, and she's the one that processes all the applications, and she gets hordes of phone calls every day of people trying to skirt the ordinance and trying to work around the ordinance, and I mean, like I said, she's just a treasure trove of information, because she started the program when she was with Dane Public Health, and now she's full time with the zoning department in Madison.
so I assume they have to pay for the outside services, obviously, that they use.
They pay for host compliance. Yeah, they pay $10,000 a year, she said that that Dane County was actually considering purchasing the service for all the other communities in the county that can't afford their own, and that have a smaller number of houses, and that was pre-COVID, and so she's not sure where that was at, and she recommended that we contact Dane County to find out where
Does
they're
she
at
know
with
who
that.
we could contact there about that?
Sure, she's already said it's the same
Yeah,
person
we
that
have-
Dane, that you already have.
We have-
She
I mean,
sent
she-
that info already.
Okay.
Nancy's given us a ton of
Yeah,
information.
and
We've already kind
then
of talked about already, but.
and then she said if Dane County hasn't done anything, or if they're not going to do anything, that it might be possible for us to call Host Compliance and just say, look, we're a small community surrounded by Madison, is there any way we can, work a better deal? Because
Or maybe we
that-
could jointly do it with another
or
community.
jointly do it
Like
with
Farland or
Madison
something, right?
for a small upcharge or whatever. So
I mean,
that's where it really starts, because she looks at that map every single day.
could we use the fees that we get from the initial registrations to pay for that?
And I think that's something we have to figure out, yeah. I know we kind of talked about, depends on where we're going to be at. But
Yeah.
so as you're looking at daily and how aggressive we're going to be and all that stuff.
Is that, yeah, okay. But that seems like that would be sufficient to fund that.
But we
If
also have
that's-
to fund someone to be responsible for it too, I guess.
Right. So that, I mean, another approach would be to be passive and wait, for complaints to come in if somebody has an issue with it. I don't know how challenging it would be to prove that somebody was, turning it over more than once every 7 days if we don't have some type of data to back it up.
Right.
So-
And that's what we're kind of trying to figure out in that group, so.
One other thing, I think in the ordinance it provides license review committee have some oversight over this in the ordinances.
I can't remember if it was or wasn't.
I think that's what we did. Anyway,
Yeah, I think it
assuming
was.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah.
What we do, like with alcohol establishments, is if somebody is creating a problem, even if we're not necessarily intending to revoke, we, basically put them on the agenda and make them come in and explain what's going on. So I would assume yeah, that could happen.
Could do that with.
That could happen, whatever else we do with it.
Yeah, I guess I would, my own view would be that, and even from talking to Donna, she had a few things that she actually thought would not work in our favor, with the ordinance that we just passed. Like, precisely because people are always trying to work around the ordinance, like she said, the 14-day window that we created would be really difficult to enforce, as with the 7-day thing that we did.
Well, I think any limitation like that, though, even if we had stayed with the original language of minimum 6-day stay, that's
I know,
still,
and so Madison's program, in having done this now for close to a decade, is everybody registers whether it's 1 day, or and by the way, they also have the 180 days consecutive for the same reason, because it just makes it easier to enforce. But what I was going to say is my own view is that I don't know that we would want to just let people slide if there's no complaints, because again, a primary
Yeah,
issue
right.
of this is not about people being a disturbance, but is about the fact that it's driving up housing costs,
right.
and it has the potential of being a real detriment to the neighborhoods when you have neighbors that are not
Right.
that
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
are- yeah.
So there may be some things about this that we need to take another look at once we get into this a little more. Right.
Okay, so yeah, it'd be good to set a date when you think it should be implemented, you're planning out the April date, so.
I mean, I think the idea was it's more driven by when you guys feel like you would be ready.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
well, I just know once we post the ordinance, it's technically, we're supposed to be.
Is
some-
having it on the
Right.
website now considered posted?
No,
No.
no, you gotta post the fee schedule for it.
Okay. So we could always delay approving this fee schedule a little bit
Yeah.
if need be.
But aren't there non-fee related parts of the ordinance that those already would be in effect, right?
According to Bill, they weren't.
No, no.
What the hell were you asking about that? He said it wasn't in effect until we passed the fee schedule and posted it.
Because the application has the fee associated.
Right.
No one would apply
Right.
until,
Yeah, good point.
I wouldn't want us to necessarily say that we're delaying the fee schedule. I would say we don't know what the fees would be because we haven't thoroughly assessed how to implement it.
Sure.
So you're still assessing what the fees would be.
I
It's
guess
not a delay. It's
Well, I guess the point is we may not be implementing it immediately because we're trying to get this all straightened out.
we're trying to address what.
And
the
we
fees
have
would
to
be.
make sure the staff's able to handle it. And I think we need to talk to Bill more about possibility of using this tourism money too, because that. Okay, so we have other things to check on, but we will.
Leah wants-
May I
Leah?
ask a question, Mary?
Yeah.
So when you are talking about when the staff is ready to implement that, are we saying implement in terms of have application forms ready and a website ready for people to apply? Or are we saying have all of that and a way to enforce it? Because those are two really different things.
Right. Right. Nancy, did you?
Well, I guess at a minimum, I don't think that we should be kicking it into gear until we have everything dialed so that people that are wanting to apply can apply and will get a response, and or that need to apply, and that the processes are outlined in terms of that application process and the follow through and all of that. So I would certainly want all of that to be in order. In terms of enforcement, again, I don't know what a reasonable, Mark just said something about 6 months for people that have been doing this already for their compliance, and I honestly can't remember what other communities have done in terms of how long somebody gets, what kind of a lag time somebody gets to fall in line, if you will, before enforcement action is taken. But obviously, that's something that we should figure out as well before.
If I may,
Go ahead, Doug.
it does seem like 6 months would make sense for existing because we have the 180-day consecutive
Right.
requirement, and a lot of these places may very well already have rented, to people.
We don't have.
We don't have
We
the
got rid of the
180
180-day consecutive.
We have 180 any.
In fact, I was
days.
thinking that was your motion, but maybe I'm
Okay.
wrong. I don't remember.
Well,
But that's
in
going to
any
be
event, I guess-
problematic anyway.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure some of them do have it rented for
right.
months
So
in
that,
advance.
but
In fact, I know someone who has our former mayor's home rented for September already, so.
yeah, but so I think that's a kind of a fairness thing. But if we need to look at going back and tweaking some of the language, I think we need to be open to that as
Yeah.
we go forward and see,
Right.
how it works.
Sure. I think, Kathy, do you have a question? You're on mute.
Kathy, you're on mute.
Me. There you go. Okay. So, two things. Can we take, I think if we're going to put it in, we need to enforce it. But since it's enforcement of the room taxes, can we pay for it out of the room taxes? That's one. And two, we should probably have a city committee have oversight, which means we'll need to figure out who and amend the ordinance to allow that committee oversight responsibility.
That's a good point. Is it license review, or did that discussion come up in terms of committee?
I don't have it in front of me. Did we talk about that? First of all, it was zoning.
Let's do a little more research on that, take a closer look at it, to see if it mentions license review. I know license review came up at some point, but I don't know if it actually is in the ordinance
We
or
can
not.
figure out what other communities do
True.
in terms of
Yeah.
Right.
oversight.
Why don't we do a little
But-
research on that, and we can come back next time. Does that sound?
Yep.
Thanks, Kathy. Both good points. So we'll try to build on a little bit more on this whole tourism room tax thing, including the enforcement issue, and think a little bit more about what committee it might fall under. Anybody have anything else to say? I guess we just wanted to update you a little bit on what's going on.
Thanks for the responses. That's great.
So do you have anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay. All right, we will move on to reports of committees and commissions, et cetera. First up is updates and discussion on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Does anyone have anything to report? Updates, discussion on sustainability efforts.
No report.
Okay, then we will go to committee
I
report.
have one.
Or Doug?
I think you're not going to do it.
Okay.
Alderman Rodemacher had asked me to participate in a DOA Green Team webinar, not webinar, but Zoom call, basically. And there were like,
Like a lunch and learn.
yeah, there were like 45 or 50
Over 50 people.
people centered around No Mo May.
Oh,
Yeah, Doug was our guest speaker, and the point was, everybody knows what No Mo May is, but we wanted to tell the story of how our community sort of experienced a real, what do you want to say, a real, the thing that really tipped it for us was when Doug,
Well, that was just a catalyst.
was a
And I
catalyst,
said
right,
this, that,
exactly.
Based on work that a lot of other people
Yeah,
had done.
right, right.
So,
And so we talked a lot about, well, Doug shared a lot about, how if your city, has an ordinance, how do you go about changing ordinance? How do you work with your city council? How would you,
yeah.
work with existing structures? It was really well attended. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else on sustainability? And I assume Nomo May will be coming again.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we will start then on committee reports. Alder DePula.
I've got that.
Alder Holmquist.
No report.
Alder Moore.
Just want to report that I'm looking at the numbers right now, and we have 737 residents that have responded to the transit survey, and we know that there's a number of surveys as well that have been filled out, hard copies that have been filled out, so we're looking at about 750, I would say at this point, comfortably. People who have responded to the bus transit survey. It will remain open through the third week of this month, through the 24th of March. So for anyone out there who may not have taken the transit survey yet, we'd strongly encourage you to do so.
And is there going to be a reminder about that in the newsletter?
Yes.
Alder Wood.
CDA meets next Tuesday. I think we'll be discussing both the Bloom and the Broadway Lofts projects, but I assume that'll mostly be in closed session.
Is it Tuesday or Monday?
It's Monday, actually, I think.
Monday the 13th, you're right. Yeah.
Alder Rademacher.
Community media and sustainability meet this week. Landmarks, we decided to forego our meeting this month just for lack of a solid agenda. And that's it.
Alder Thomas.
So I have no committee report, but I want to apologize to my colleagues for any disruption I caused tonight.
Kathy, it's fine. Just take care of yourself.
You did not cause any
No, you
disruption.
didn't.
Certainly no more than you usually do. So.
No, I'm sorry I couldn't be. One of my friends said they were glad to have their sassy friend back, but it didn't last long.
Yeah. Well, we miss you, Kathy.
Yeah,
Well, I hope to be there at the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay,
we
do
hope so.
too.
Okay, well, Leah, did you have anything to report?
No.
Aline?
In-person absentee voting is the 21st through the 31st of this month. Additional hours will be Saturday, the 25th from 8 to noon at City Hall.
And that's going to be in the newsletter too, I assume? Okay. Mark?
No report.
I just said two things. I keep asking about the newsletter. I think you all got the reminder about articles are due on Friday. And then in terms of, I hope you've all been checking with your committee people whose terms are up. If you know of any who do not want to return, please let me know right away, because if I could, I'd really like to get those openings listed in the newsletter that's coming up. Otherwise, it's not going to be till April. So if you know, I do know of one possibility, but otherwise, if there's anyone else, please let me know. And I think that's everything. Kathy?
Did anybody talk about the new library director?
No, he did not. Do you want to talk about it?
Well, the mayor can, or I can.
About the director? I have not been formally informed, so Kathy, you can.
The library board met this week, and we picked a new director, and Brian Clairville is returning as the director. I think March 20th, but I'm not certain of the date. Liam might know.
That's correct.
Okay. Give me this white arrow right in my face.
Move your cursor, Mark.
Yeah, move your cursor.
That's somebody else's.
Somebody else's.
Anyway, those are my things. Please let Lee and I know about these appointments. And if you could let both of us know, we'd appreciate it. So there are no appointments tonight. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.